This is a tour that the Government Service Insurance System conducts for its employees every year at around October because October is the birth month of Juan Luna. And we assembled in the office very early on a Saturday morning and we started the tour at around 7:30. The first stop of the tour is the Manila North Cemetery, but on the way there we had to drive through heavy traffic, which is normal for Metro Manila. Now this is very interesting. There is a U-turn slot here and some vehicles need to make a U-turn, so these are actually sidewalk vendors that were trying to manage the vehicles that wanted to make a U-turn, but they're also asking for money as payment for their services in assisting these vehicles in making the U-turn. This is really just ordinary in Metro Manila traffic. Now, this building that we see right here is the Manila City Hall. It is shaped like a coffin, and the design of that is deliberate because during World War II, the old building that used to be there was bombed, and a lot of people died, and a lot of people were burned to death, and it was not possible at that time to exhume everything and everyone and identify them. So when the City Hall was rebuilt, it was made into the shape of a coffin to be like a symbolic burial place for everyone who died there. And that clock tower that you see is part of the Manila City Hall building. It stands right in the middle of the coffin shape. But this is not part of the tour yet. These are just some landmarks that we're passing by on our way to the Manila North Cemetery, which is the first stop of the tour. The next landmark that we passed by is the Metropolitan Theater. This used to be the property of the GSIS where I worked, but it has already been turned over to another government agency and now they are in the process of renovating everything. It has been closed for a while, so we are really looking forward to it opening again to the public. And now we are on Quezon Boulevard and we are passing by the Quiapo Church. And right outside of it is Mendiola Square. Quezon Boulevard is a very old street in Manila, and it was named after former Philippine President Manuel L. Quezon, and it used to be a very beautiful thoroughfare, but right now these are the conditions of the buildings. It is now popular for bargain sales and bargain stores. And here we are finally entering the Manila North Cemetery. We are going to visit the grave of Ariston Bautista Lin. This cemetery is one of the oldest, but not the oldest, in the city of Manila. And a lot of historical figures are buried here, and people actually live here. As you can see, these people are homeless, but they were able to somehow build homes inside this cemetery because it's a very big cemetery, and some of the mausoleums are no longer visited by the families that they belong to, so they are solid and safe homes for homeless people. This is the plot of the Bautista Nakpil family, and our tour group is just laying down a basket of flowers and lighting some candles for the grave of Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin. Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin is a good friend of Juan Luna and another one of our national heroes, Jose Rizal, and he was the very first owner of the Parisian Life, which is one of Juan Luna's most popular and most famous paintings. On his gravestone, it says here that he was born in 1928. Beside him lies his wife, Petrona Nakpil Bautista. On the side of the pylon that marks the plot of the Bautista Nakpil family are four more people, and one of them is Gregoria de Jesus de Nakpil. Gregoria de Jesus used to be married to Andres Bonifacio, who was a revolutionary leader and the president of the Tagalog Republic, and he died during the revolution when Gregoria de Jesus was only 22, and Juan Nakpil, who was a good friend of Andres Bonifacio, married her. And here is our little tour group listening to Ryan Palad, who heads the department that manages these tour groups every year. And little did he know that a stray dog was actually listening to his lecture. I'm sure he belongs to someone because, like I said, a lot of people live inside the cemetery. And I also overheard something amusing. I'm gonna play the original sound of this and then I'm gonna come back and explain.
Bakit? Ano yan? Wala ka kami pera sa tao? Facebook. Kahit walang pera, tumawa na tayo.
So the guy is going around selling these. These are not blankets. These are thin cushioned sheets that you lay down on the floor to sleep on. And the woman was saying that it was too short, and if a tall person lies down on that, his feet are going to be hanging out from the edge. And then the guy said that that person should learn how to curl up. And then he urged the woman to smile a little bit or to laugh. And then the woman said, "Why am I going to smile or laugh? I don't have any money, so I have no reason to smile." But she ended up laughing anyway. And then the guy said, "Even if we don't have money, we must always smile or laugh." So that's really what this entire conversation was about. At this point, Professor Michael Charleston Chua, or Xiao Chua, has already arrived, and he was telling us all about Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin and his family and his role in the Philippine Revolution. Dr. Xiao Chua was our guest historian for the tour. I really cannot help but stop to admire all of these old trees that are scattered all over the cemetery. Like I said, it's a very old cemetery, so its trees are also very, very old. Like this one right here. I have always found old trees very fascinating. And here we are at the second stop in the cemetery. This is the Mausoleo de los Veteranos de la Revolución. Translated from Spanish, it is the Mausoleum of the Veterans of the Revolution. Here is the historical marker that is placed by the National Historical Institute, and you are going to see this same design on all historical landmarks that we are going to visit on this day. This one in particular is written in the Filipino language, and it explains the significance of this particular building to Philippine history. On the other side of the entrance of the mausoleum is a list of all of the Philippine revolutionaries who are buried here. Here we have Professor Chua explaining to us who these people were in case we have already forgotten our history lessons. We also made a side trip to another grave in the Manila North Cemetery. This is the grave of Ramon Magsaysay, one of the former presidents of the Philippines. Someone is actually here doing the cleaning, and traditionally Filipinos clean the graves of their loved ones and family members right around before November 1, because November 1 is the Day of All Saints and November 2 is the Day of All Souls in the Philippines, and that's when we visit the cemeteries. After we left the Manila North Cemetery, traffic wasn't so bad. And this here is Quezon Bridge, and we're on our way to the Juan Luna Monument. And this is the monument. We have already laid down our basket of flowers for Juan Luna, and this is the monument dedicated to him. This is the historical marker placed by the National Historical Institute of the Philippines. And over here, finally, we get our first look of what Juan Luna looks like. The marker in the front is written in English, but this marker at the back is actually written in Filipino, and it just explains the accomplishments that he did in the service of the Philippine Revolution. Our next stop is in this very old house right here. It is along Bautista Street, right in the middle of the city of Manila, and it has the Philippine flag over the doorway and also the flag of the Philippine Revolution, which has the letters KKK, which is the emblem of the Katipunan. The Katipunan is actually the name of the revolutionary group, and the members were called Katipuneros. And this is called the Bahay Nakpil Bautista now, but before it just used to be the home of Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin and his wife Petrona Nakpil. And this is another historical marker put up by the National Historical Institute to commemorate the historical significance of the building. It is technically house number 432 on Bautista Street, and in this house where Ariston and Petrona lived, some of the members of the Katipunan met to discuss matters about the Philippine Revolution. Now, because it is a museum, the ground floor has these panels and artworks that explain the historical significance of the place, and also to place some abbreviated narrations of the historical movements and the historical events of the revolution. Now here's something that I would like to show you. At the ground floor of the Bahay Nakpil Bautista lives someone who makes statues of saints, and here are some of his works. They're not all on display. I think these are the very, very old ones that were not sold. The first time I was here, there were more statues around. They were working on more than this, but here is one statue that's in progress. Here is one of the workers. He's not really doing anything. He's just really just cleaning up. Now we're already at the mezzanine of the house, and this is where the music room of Juan Nakpil used to be. Remember, Juan Nakpil was the one who married Gregoria de Jesus after she was widowed by the death of Andres Bonifacio, and Juan Nakpil is actually a composer. And here are some of his works on display. Some of them are in Filipino and some of them are in Spanish, and this is so fascinating. Here are some letters that he wrote to some of the revolutionary leaders. They're no longer the originals. I think they're already facsimiles so that the originals can be protected from the elements, but I think they're so fascinating. Here is a photo of the signature of what looks like Andres Bonifacio, the one that used to be married to Gregoria de Jesus. And I don't know what pens they wrote with these with. I think that fountain pens were not yet invented at the time, so these must be written with dip pens. From the mezzanine, we go up the stairs into the second floor of the house. Hardwood floors, giant windows that let in a lot of sun and light and wind. These are the characteristics that mark this particular house. But at this point in the video, I'm going to speed up everything and not explain too much because I don't want to spoil the future tours that are going to be held. However, I still want to show you what I saw, so here they are. Professor Chua gave a lecture about Juan Luna, his life and his work as embodied in the painting called Parisian Life, and it was very detailed. After that, we had lunch and then we moved on to the next stop in the tour. But I also want to show you the things that we passed by on the way to the next stop because you might find it very interesting, especially if you're not from the Philippines and you don't live here. These are the things that you are going to see along the public roads of the city of Manila. There are stores and small canteens and people just hanging out in the streets because their homes are too small. And here's another historical marker put up by the National Historical Institute at the front of the National Museum. And this used to be the offices of the Philippine Senate during the Commonwealth era, but now it has been turned into the National Museum. And this is the Spoliarium. It's one of Juan Luna's most famous and most popular paintings. It's very, very big. It won the gold medal at the Exposición Nacional de Bellas Artes in 1884 in Madrid. I really recommend that you visit the National Museum so that you can appreciate the Spoliarium in person because it really is something else. And finally, here we are to view The Parisian Life by Juan Luna. And one of the three men in that painting, the one looking at the lady, is actually Dr. Ariston Bautista Lin himself. And Juan Luna is the second guy, the one in the middle. And the third one, the one with his back to us, is Jose Rizal, one of our national heroes. Now, there are different theories regarding the different symbolisms that are in this painting, and I will put some links down below, but those are very, very interesting. And once again, at this point in the video, I'm going to speed up the clips because I do prefer that you visit the National Museum for yourself so you can appreciate all these wonderful historical artworks in person. And by the way, these paintings that I'm showing you are all done by Juan Luna. But let me just take this time to show this to you. This is the actual book called The Imitation of Christ that was owned by Jose Rizal, and this is what he gave to his wife Josephine when they were married. They were married at around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning on December 30, 1896, inside the prison cell of Jose Rizal. And an hour after, Jose Rizal was marched out to be executed by firing squad. He inscribed the book to my dear and unhappy wife, Josephine. And the last stop in our Luna Walk is this museum right here. You have seen this before on my YouTube channel because I came here in July 2016 for a One Book July activity. And I will link that video down below. But for this particular video, we just went straight ahead to the crypts because that is where Juan Luna is buried. And I remember I also showed that in my vlog about One Book July. Here is a small marker that explains Juan Luna in English and Filipino, and there is the basket of flowers that the tour group bought. But because we've already been talking about Juan Luna practically the whole day, Dr. Chua just decided that we should just come here to have a small prayer to give thanks to all of our heroes and to pray for the future of our country. And I think it's a very fitting end to a very meaningful walking tour. Going out, there is the usual traffic in the city of Manila, and it's not very pretty and it's far from perfect, but I love my country anyway. Thanks for watching. Bye!